I stood at the altar in my white lace gown, heart pounding with joy and nervous excitement, as the music swelled and everyone waited for my family to walk me down the aisle. But the seats reserved for them stayed empty. One by one, my mother, my sisters, my aunts, the people who were supposed to love me most, turned their backs and walked out of my wedding. That moment shattered me in ways I still struggle to describe. My name is Alina, and for 28 years I had dreamed of this day. Growing up in a close-knit but complicated family, I was always the peacemaker, the one who smoothed things over, the daughter who put everyone else first. My mother raised us with strict traditional values. She believed marriage should stay within certain circles, same culture, same social status, same kind of people. My fiancé, Alex, was kind, successful, and deeply loving, but he came from a different background. My family had made their disapproval clear for over a year. They called it protecting me. I called it control. Yet I believed love would win. I believed that on my wedding day they would choose me. The ceremony hall looked magical, soft lights, white flowers everywhere, the scent of roses in the air. My bridesmaids squeezed my hands, whispering encouragement. Alex stood tall at the altar, his eyes full of love and concern as the minutes ticked by. Guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Then it happened. My mother entered first, dressed elegantly but with a tight, disapproving expression. She walked halfway down the aisle, stopped, looked directly at me, and shook her head slowly. Without a word, she turned and left. My two older sisters followed, eyes downcast, one of them wiping away what looked like fake tears. Aunts and cousins who had promised to stand by me filed out behind them in silence. The sound of their footsteps echoed like a funeral march. I felt my knees weaken. The bouquet trembled in my hands. Tears blurred my vision as I realized my entire family had just abandoned me on the most important day of my life, in front of over 200 guests, in front of the man I loved, in front of the future I had fought so hard to build. The officiant paused awkwardly. Alex stepped down to hold me. "Alina, we don't have to do this if you're not ready," he whispered gently, but I shook my head. I refused to let their rejection steal this moment from us. We continued the ceremony with heavy hearts, the empty family seats like a glaring wound. As I said my vows through tears, a small part of me wondered, where was my father? He had been quiet during the family conflicts, torn between loyalty to my mother and love for me. I hadn't seen him all morning, but what I didn't know in that heartbreaking moment was that my dad was already on his way back, and he wasn't coming alone. The reception that followed felt like walking through a dream and a nightmare at the same time. Guests tried to be kind, offering hugs and words of support, but the absence of my family hung over everything like a dark cloud. My mother's empty chair at the head table stared back at me. No one from my side gave a speech. No one danced with me the way families do at weddings. I smiled for photos, but inside I felt completely broken. Alex held me close all evening, reminding me that we had chosen each other and that was enough. His family welcomed me warmly, treating me like their own daughter from the very beginning. Their kindness only made the contrast sharper. How could the people who raised me turn their backs so completely? Later that night, as we prepared to leave for our honeymoon suite, the full weight of the betrayal crashed over me. I sat on the edge of the bed in my wedding dress, sobbing uncontrollably. 15 years of trying to earn my family's approval, helping with my sister's weddings, supporting my mother through difficult times, always being the good daughter, had ended in public humiliation. Why was I enough? I whispered to Alex. Why couldn't they just be happy for me? He had no answers, only love. But the pain ran deep. In the weeks that followed, the emotional struggle intensified. My phone stayed silent. No calls from my mother checking on the honeymoon. No messages from my sisters congratulating us. Instead, I received a cold text from my mother 2 days later. "We did what we thought was best for you. You made your choice." That message destroyed the last fragile hope I had been holding on to. I felt exposed, unwanted, and utterly disposable. Nights became long battles with insomnia. I replayed every family argument, every subtle dig about Alex's background, every time I had swallowed my feelings to keep the peace. Self-doubt whispered that maybe they were right, maybe I had been selfish. Friends tried to comfort me, but the isolation felt crushing. I questioned everything: my worth, my choices, even my love for Alex on some dark days. The shift from pain to strength didn't happen overnight. It came in small, quiet moments. A gentle reminder from Alex that family isn't always blood. A therapy session where I finally voiced years of suppressed hurt. A morning where I looked in the mirror and decided I would not let their rejection define my new life. But the story wasn't over. 3 weeks after the wedding, strange rumors started circulating in our extended circle. People said my mother and sisters were telling others that Alex had tricked me into the marriage, that I had betrayed the family, that I was no longer welcome at any future gatherings. The betrayal kept spreading, poisoning relationships I once cherished. Then one evening my father called. His voice sounded heavy, exhausted, but determined. "Alina, I need to see you and Alex. There are things you don't know, things I should have spoken up about sooner." "Can I come over tomorrow?" I agreed, heart racing with a mix of hope and fear. My dad had always been the quieter one, the provider who worked long hours and avoided conflict. Part of me had felt abandoned by him too on the wedding day. When he arrived the next afternoon, he looked older, carrying a thick folder of documents. What he revealed next began to crack open the truth behind my family's dramatic walkout. He explained that my mother had been pressuring him for months to cut me off financially and emotionally if I went through with the wedding. She had even involved other relatives in a plan to make me see reason. But my father had secretly been gathering information, bank records, old family debts, and communications that showed my mother's disapproval wasn't just about culture or love. It was tangled with money, control, and long-standing family secrets I had never been told. He admitted his own silence had come from fear of losing the family unit. But seeing me stand alone at the altar had broken something in him. He had left the wedding not to abandon me, but to gather proof and make a stand. As he spoke, tears filled his eyes. "I failed you that day, sweetheart, but I'm here now, and what they did, it can't stay hidden." Realization hit me like a wave. The betrayal wasn't only the public humiliation at my wedding. It was years of conditional love. Years of being valued only when I followed their rules. My emotional struggle reached its peak in those conversations, waves of anger mixed with grief for the family I thought I had. Yet in the pain, strength slowly bloomed. I started journaling my feelings every night, speaking my truth out loud, and leaning on Alex and a small circle of true supporters. I began to see myself not as the rejected daughter, but as a woman who had chosen love and courage over fear. The ground was shifting. My father's quiet return planted the first seeds of justice. But none of us could have predicted how dramatically everything would change when he returned a second time with the police. 2 months after the wedding, my father asked for another meeting. This time he didn't come alone. As Alex and I waited anxiously in our living room, the doorbell rang. My dad entered, accompanied by two uniformed officers. My heart nearly stopped. "Alina," he said calmly, "these officers are here because of what your mother and sisters have been doing behind the scenes." What unfolded next was a story of hidden financial manipulation that had been going on for years. My mother had been misusing family trust funds and pressuring relatives to sign documents that could have affected my inheritance and even Alex's business, which had loose ties to some family investments. The dramatic walkout at the wedding had been part of a coordinated attempt to publicly shame me and isolate me so I would return to the fold and give up any claims. The police were not there to arrest anyone that day, but to deliver formal notices regarding an ongoing investigation into financial irregularities and potential fraud. My father had turned over evidence he had quietly collected: emails, bank transfers, and witness statements from relatives who finally chose truth over loyalty. My mother and sisters were shocked when they received the notices. The consequences unfolded slowly but powerfully. Extended family members distanced themselves as the truth spread. Some relatives who had followed my mother's lead expressed regret. The public humiliation my family had inflicted on me at the wedding now turned inward as their own actions were exposed in quiet but undeniable ways. There were difficult conversations, tears, and denials at first. My mother eventually reached out, her voice small and broken, admitting that pride and fear of losing control had clouded her judgment. My sisters sent messages filled with regret, though healing would take time. I didn't gloat or seek loud revenge. The justice came through truth and accountability. My father stood firmly by my side, rebuilding our relationship on honesty. Alex and I moved forward stronger, our marriage deepened by the trials we had faced together. Today, I look back on that empty aisle with a mix of sadness and gratitude. The betrayal shattered the illusion of unconditional family love, but it also freed me to build a life rooted in real respect and chosen bonds. The greatest lesson I learned is this: sometimes the people who should protect you on your most joyful days are the ones who test your strength the hardest. True family isn't defined by blood or tradition alone. It's defined by who shows up when it matters, who chooses love over control, and who has the courage to stand for what is right even when it's difficult. I no longer carry the weight of their approval. I carry the peace of knowing I chose myself and the man I love. And in the quiet moments, I whisper thanks to the version of me who stood at that altar with tears in her eyes. She was braver than she knew. If you've ever been abandoned by the people who were supposed to celebrate you, know that your worth doesn't disappear when they walk away. Sometimes the most powerful justice is simply continuing to live fully, love deeply, and refuse to let their rejection dim your light. Thank you for listening to my story with an open heart. Your own experiences of betrayal and resilience matter. Share them in the comments if you feel called to. I read every single one. If this story moved you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear that they are not alone. Healing is possible. Strength is possible. And sometimes, even on the darkest wedding day, truth has a way of returning with unexpected allies. Until the next story, hold on to your worth. It is yours, and no one can take it away.